the most famous decision-making dua in Islam, which is known as dua al-istikhara. It is not befitting for the believer to rush into any matter, minor or major, until they first seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance. And so istikhara is not just for some major decision in your life, meaning it's not just for marriage and it's not just for trying to get into a particular program. It is for every single element of your life. And that is the relationship of dependence that you have upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Life without reciting istikhara is like salah without the recitation of the Quran. That's how important this dua was to the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you make this a daily habit, and that's the implication here, that the Sahaba would do this a lot, where most of us probably do this like 3 or 4 times in our lives. If you make this a daily habit even with your Fajr Salah, right, the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr, that you're going to pray 2 rak'ahs and make that dua, then think about how much more clarity you're going to have in life, and think about how much more blessed your decision making and your decree is going to be. So what is istikhara and what isn't istikhara? So first and foremost, istikhara is not a magic pill. It's not something that suddenly clears the fog and gives you all sorts of clarity and opens the pathways for you. It's also not a dream. And this is probably the hardest thing for people to come to terms with. If you're trying to get married to someone and you pray istikhara and you see them in a dream, it's probably because you really want to marry that person, not because of the istikhara. Istikhara is not necessarily connected to your dreams. It's a dua for guidance, not something that shows up. There are no colors that you see at night that indicate yes or no. There's no such thing as an istikhara fairy. Yes, I've actually heard some cultures where you put yes and no under your pillow and you make dua and then you pick one of the pieces of paper and see which one it shows up as. That's just our desire to always get the direct answer that we're seeking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But part of our dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the process to Him and giving the outcome to Him. And so istikhara is actually asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide you to the right way after you have done everything in your power, in your capacity to find the right way. First and foremost, you exert your own efforts and your own thinking to see if this is good for you in your deen and your dunya. Secondly, you consult righteous people. You seek consultation. You do istishara, which is seeking people's advice to see if this is really the best thing for you in your deen or your dunya. And then you go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after your own deduction and that righteous consultation. And you say, "Oh Allah, facilitate it for me if it's good for me, and take it away from me if it is bad for me." So how do you